gentlemen, it's Eventi TV here, and we are spectating the community-organized Chinese/AU time zone tournament today. This is a round-robin format, so you're going to be able to see these teams all play out the same number of matches as each other today. And at the end of it, though, we're going to find out who's going forwards, I think, to the quarterfinals. Is that how it works? It's quarterfinals, yeah?
I believe so, yes.
And up first here, I think we have the ship starting to land on grid now, is When to Delete Marauder in red and Drones Never Die in blue. Both of these teams lost their match yesterday, so they are fighting for that slot and their survival in the tournament effectively here. So When to Delete Marauder have brought a really heavy DPS shield comp here with double Rattlesnake, Scorpion, Navy issue, supported by a Rapier, Jackdaw, Stork, Kirin, and Raptor. Black Pirate, what have the blue team brought? Drones Never Die.
Drones Never Die is got a couple of Leshaks and a Vindicator. I think they actually flew this yesterday, or somebody flew this yesterday. It wasn't exactly the same setup, but they're pretty much using all their points at the top end with 2 Leshaks, a Vindicator, a couple of Vexers, a couple of Deacons, and a Magus. 2 Maguses. So they actually are cross-warping, or they're not cross-warping, but they're starting pretty far off of each other. Drones Never Die came in at 30, and When to Delete Marauder did come in at 50, assuming that I have them marked correctly. So they're pretty far apart. I think that does help a little bit out for When to Delete Marauder, just because they are starting so far away against Vindicators. Kind of curious to see how exactly this is going to go on, and the match is coming in about 20 seconds here.
Yeah, I think the important thing to see here is going to be what happens to that Drones Never Die top end, the Lashak and the Vindicator. If the DPS top end of When to Delete Marauder can push through that before they get on top of it, it's going to have, that's going to be the key to decide this fight.
Yeah, they are cruise rattlesnakes as well, which is kind of funky. So Ooh. There's a lot of sustained DPS against battleships there.
Look at the Rapier going in there. Going in there as a screener.
He's kind of ramming. Oh, there's also sentry drones down from the rattlesnakes, and they're Tech 1 drones. So I think with the Rapier, they'll still be doing some pretty good damage. They are going straight on the Leshak, though they're trying to screen off that Vindicator as well.
Look at that, though. In third, 1/3 of his armor already down here.
That's a lot of damage. Even with Tech 1 drones, it's bonus rattlesnakes. I will say something to look at here is they have looks like they're doing omni damage, because we got both curators, bouncers, and then the rattlesnakes probably splitting. So there's not really any way to. They're messing with the reactive hardener. It's pretty smart on that. It's the only thing that I would say would keep a Leshak alive. But yeah, those 2 little Lottie frigates are just not doing too much. There's a lot of rep drones out right now, so they might start pulling back here. But yeah, that Rapier is screening really, really well. The Raptor's actually kind of like the Skybreaker and the Raptor are having their own little tackle duel off to the side. So Drones is having trouble figuring out how exactly to get in there.
Yeah, I'm wondering what this Vexer, what this Pontifex, what this Magus are really doing right now. They need to be going in there and trying to make plays, and they're all just holding back in this sort of defensive pattern, letting the red team sit near the edge of the arena. They're kind of close to one of those jump beacons as well. They have the maneuverability advantage here, and they can fire from pretty much anywhere on the arena. Right now, it's just a grind fest, and eventually those deacons are going to run out of cap.
So the Leshaks are actually taking out sentry drones right now, which in theory, if they take all of them down, they could cut the DPS of those rattlesnakes probably by about, I would guess, 800 to 1,000. I don't know exactly how much a T1 sentry drone does on a rattlesnake, because how often do you have that happen? The Raptor and the Skybreaker have actually tackled each other off in a corner. And I'm wondering if, it looks like When to Delete Marauder is going to take that Skybreaker out really quickly here. Or at least they're turning and trying to swat it. So Tang is probably going to go down here. Oh, actually, he slingshotted himself out of tackle, so maybe he's going to be able to get away here.
Oh.
No,
not quite, not quite.
He tried.
Yeah, that has given the Lashak a bit of a chance to regain some of its buffer, though, and a couple of stray shots there landing on Lambert and Nirvana. I don't think they're going to hot swap, though.
Yeah,
Or I could be wrong.
they might. I'm not sure if that was exactly the best thing. I think it might have just been some miscommunication. But drones, they're having so much trouble pushing through that rapier, and I think that at some point you need to just kind of ram here. It looks like they're sort of pulling the Lashak of alt. He's kind of pulling back now. He did go all the way to the back of their team, and just has a huge swarm of rep drones on him. So I don't know. They're very slowly pushing on top of the sentries, and they've actually dropped the sentries and swapped over to ogres. At least one of them has. So we'll see. You know, that's probably a little bit more difficult just to take out with Lashaks and gives them higher DPS.
Well, here we go, though. Cafu Chino in the Pontifex going in for a tackle play, looks like.
He's actually
the web hasn't landed.
Right now. Yeah, he's going to get that rapier. He's like maybe 5k off him right now.
Oh, he snuck in there.
Yeah,
you see, that was what I was talking about.
Yeah, no, it was a really good call on that. And it is a shield rapier, so, you know, it's a little too late to get the paints and the webs on him. The one thing is, though, because they're using logistics frigates, it's going to be hard for them to actually keep him alive. So I think they're actually just going to pop the Pontifex. It was great tackle play on his part. I'm not sure if they were really ready for it. We'll see if he's able to hold on. And he does go down. It looked like he got rep drones or reps on him at the last second. But we'll see if that's enough for them to get on top of the rapier and start doing some serious damage here. And they do have the rapier webbed. So, yeah, I think he might have died for a good reason there.
Yeah, it took a couple of seconds. It took a couple of seconds, though, but it looks like the Magus has pushed up as well. They are starting to get engaged here. It looks like the Stalk of Cotton, he's right in the middle of them. They should be able to scram something down here, maybe even that Rattlesnake. If they can start pressuring here, it's probably worth the trade of their Command Destroyers, because those boosts will last for a long enough time. They are still going to be repping and tanking at the same level as before for a little bit longer, and that Rapier's going into low shields here.
Yeah, both of the Lashaks are spooled up on him. I think that it looks to me like he's trying to. They are taking down Lambert right here at the same time. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to survive. It looks like they've spread their rep drones a little poorly, so hopefully they can fix that and get him brought back up before they lose their Lashak, which does not happen. So he does go down, but the other Lashak is spooled up on that rapier, and it's entirely possible he's going to solo through this. Lashaks are weird where just because there's only one of them doesn't mean they can't still destroy everything. So we might see that.
Yeah, I'm really worried about this, though. They need to keep that Lashak alive. If they can't keep that Lashak alive, they aren't going to win this DPS race, not with 3 battleships left on the field.
Yeah, he's actually going down quite quickly here. They do take the rapier out, but that might be a little too little or a little bit too late there. It might have been a good idea for them to just try and burn through a Rattlesnake or Scorpion, because that second Lashak is dropping really, really fast here. Now that they have the ability to focus everything on it, and logistics frigates, maybe they just don't have the repping power to keep them alive.
Yeah, with that second Lashak goes down, I think that's probably any hope of victory here for Drones Never Die. So it becomes down to basically just fighting for honor at this point, trying to make sure that you don't go out without taking a few more things down with you.
Yeah, we did talk about this yesterday. I was kind of joking about how sometimes you get into this situation where you have a setup like this where like you have 3 minutes left and you're hoping like, well, I think you asked me, you're like, how could Drones Never Die possibly come back from this? But they are actually sitting at about 110 km, so they're kind of close to the boundary. We joke about like, oh, maybe they'll boundary this. There's a possibility here. We've seen some weird stuff with this.
That jackdaw is right on the edge of it too.
He's really close. I don't think it's going to happen, but they did kite straight away. I really like how Into Delete Marauder played, like just basically taking their little drone ball and flying straight back. Not even really a drone ball, but the 2 rattlesnakes and their missile ships. Not sure how viable that would be against other things, but they did ban out quite a bit of different things that generally would prevent. Like they banned out the curse, which would make the rattlesnakes really bad. They banned out the sentinel, which would make the rattlesnakes really bad. Like When to Delete Marauder definitely had a game plan here, and I think they did a pretty good job executing it.
Yeah, the thing I have to question though is what the hell were those Vexers supposed to do in this comp? Because they weren't using really any utility that we saw. They weren't getting in there. They don't seem like they're particularly tanky. Were they just pure drone kite things, like just throw some light drones on a frigate and kite back?
So traditionally, I need to actually look and see if they have guns before I say it. But traditionally, a Vexer in an armor setup, it's basically just a pretty solid utility tackle for low points. So yeah, they do not have guns on them. So the Vexers, I'm guessing that they're uh, full like Newton Nos high slots. You can fit a Scram Web, Cat Booster, and an MWD on it, and then the drone bay actually lets them fly a full set of medium rep drop or carry several full sets of medium rep drones. And rep drones are very, very powerful. I think one of the reasons why these Lasaks live so long is only because of the rep drones. Because with two cruise rattlesnakes and Navy Scorpion, like that's kind of insane DPS. It's one of those things you don't really see a lot on TQ, so it's hard to really quantify it. But I would guess it's probably about 5,000 to 6,000 DPS right there. And they were cruise rattles, since somebody was asking. Yeah, in chat.
No, that's absolutely true. And here we're just waiting for the final two logistics frigates to die. Absolutely nothing they could do to survive this level of DPS.
Yeah, they're gonna take a little bit to go down, but in fact, I'm kind of surprised about how quickly they're dropping here. But I guess with all the webs and the paints on them, they're able to take them out pretty quickly because those cruises definitely aren't going to do anything, and that does make When to Delete Marauder win 100-11. I believe both of these teams were actually, I think
They
they
lost their
both
first games.
lost their
Yeah.
first games. Yeah, so because unless Drones Never Die is able to win one and then When to Delete loses their next match, I think that means that Drones may be out, but not 100% on that yet. Got to figure it out.
Cool. I'll introduce them. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This is Event TV presenting the community-run Chinese/AU time zone tournament. We just saw When to Delete Marauder, led by Haha Lin, defeat Drones Never Die, led by Drone Wang, meaning that Drones Never Die are effectively out of this tournament now, but we will get to see them play one final time here near the end. So if you are cheering, if you want to see them regain their honor, there's every chance that they do that in the future. But now we're going to get to watch the winners of the same group play against each other. New Eden Observatory and Long GG's roaming team. And I have to say, New Eden Observatory were one of the standouts for me in yesterday's play. They seemed really cool and composed with their execution of a kite composition.
Yeah, they definitely were probably one of the best showings we've seen here. Just they seemed like very professional and like they knew what they were doing. Definitely just totally handled the guys that they went up against, which is always fun to watch. So, but like you said, these guys haven't fought each other yet, and they both won their last matches, which means we're seeing winners versus winners is always fun. Drones Never Die is 0-2 right now, so they seem pretty okay and they have decent ideas, but maybe they're just not quite up to the point where these other two guys are, which means we might see some really cool stuff here.
Yeah, we do have the bans in there. So the red team, which is New Eden Observatory, have banned Hugin, Rapier, and Jackdaw. whilst Long GG have banned Nighthawk, Loki, and Curse. The Curse is something we've seen quite a lot in this tournament so far. People seem to really love that control and TD element. And it was banned in the first match as well.
Yeah, that's a little. So if you look at obviously we've only seen like one match for both of these guys, but if you see New Eden Observatory, they banned both the Hugin and the Rapier, so they really, really don't want somebody webbing them down, which to me says they're probably planning on doing kiting stuff again. I feel like if I was going up against them, I would probably leave the curse open just so I could use it against them. But by taking the Nighthawk, the Loki, and the curse out, they've kind of the other team, Along UG has made it so that it's a bit harder to counter some kind of kiting missile setup. Because if you notice, the Bargus is open, and this is, I believe, the first time we haven't seen a Bargus banned yet in this tournament. I think yesterday, every single time Bargus were banned. So,
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm kind of expecting that.
Yeah, I think they were banned every single match yesterday. So yeah, this is the first time it's at least been open. So I'm interested to see if they're actually going to make an appearance now.
Does this have like the Barghest lower points cost, or is it just Barghest as Barghest?
No, the Modus costs are not reduced in this tournament. They're just standard costs.
Yeah, so it does make it a little bit harder to make, just because you are dropping 69, which is a very nice amount of points into your Barghest setup if you run triple Barghest. But you still do have 31 points to play with, and this specific tournament has reduced point costs on several other ships, which means this is going to be one of those setups that you probably cannot fly in AT-17 if they bring Barghest, which again, that's kind of what I'm expecting, but we'll see what happens.
Am I right in thinking these could be the first Barghest we've seen since the start of the summer tournament?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, we don't see him yet, so I'm not like, I'm just hoping, because otherwise I'm going to feel really silly if Barghest don't show up now. But that's what I'm expecting.
We'll have to see. They're all in system now. Anyone got any predictions, though? Who do you think is going to take this?
Personally, I think I'm with you on this one. I think the New Eden Observatory, they were just super composed yesterday in that kiting setup. I really think they'll take this. But, Long GG's team, they did play well, so it could go either way, really.
Uh-oh, we have the red team leaving local all of a sudden.
They just decided today is not the day for them to die.
Here we see, surely signs they've seen what the opponents have brought and thought, hang on a second, Barghests are open. We forgot about that. They've come back to get in the right setup.
Reban, yeah.
Change your plan, guys.
Yeah, something to think about is New Eden Observatory did go 100-0 in their match versus I don't quite remember who it was they went up as, where Long GG actually, I think they won by like 10 points. So they barely took the win on their match yesterday, where New Eden Observatory just did a clean sweep. So I like New Eden Observatory for this one.
Yeah, and I like them as well, but I guess someone's going to root for the other guy, so I'll be rooting for Long GG's. Let's go for the upset. Let's see what happens.
You cursed them. They're cursed.
Yeah, you got to do it.
I'd like to confirm that, in fact, the curse is banned, so you cannot be cursed. Thank you.
You pilgrimed them.
My hope is that Long GG brings something with a lot of sentinels, something like that. Goes proper counter meta. Expects them to bring the Barghest. I always love that next leveling.
That would actually be a pretty solid idea. Just because Barghest also generally have a little bit of trouble against hitting ships like that. Like you could do something goofy like a afterburning sentinel, and then hope that they leave Barghest open and see what happens, that'd be some real meta play, which is always fun to see.
Yeah, people are noting that the rapid heavies will murder will murder the sentinels. But obviously, if you're in the rapid heavy setup, you need to kill your opposing logistics immediately. So you can't really spend time killing those sentinels.
Yeah, and they did leave the hyena open, so you could see like a triple Barghest hyena setup, which is really, really gross. I don't know. Like, since I think they're warping soon, so we'll see them in just a little bit here. But I was this looks to me like they set the bands up to bring a Barghest hyena comp, and then are hoping. And oh, hey, look, there's a Sentinel on grid. Hey, crazy.
I called it, team. But it's
And
for the other
Cerberus.
side.
And if there's Cerberuses, then there's probably going to be other rapid light ships, or perhaps Bargists? Question mark.
Cerberus
I have to
Raptor.
agree with you though. The hyena really would be the maple syrup on the pancake stack of the Bargists. It would be a really nasty comp to fight against.
Oh wow! Would you look at that? There's Bargists and hyenas landing. Weird.
Oh wow, this is going to be
Yeah.
what I'm going to call this one the AT-17 preview match.
Yeah. So obviously we don't quite see it on the stream yet, but
Just waiting for the last of them to finish landing.
yeah, New Eden Observatory has brought a triple Bargist, and triple Bargist with a couple of Sentinels and a hyena, as well as logistics frigates and Bifrost for links. So they actually have a lot of E-War, like a lot of weapon disruption, as well as that hyena. However, interestingly enough, I think that they might have gotten countered a little bit here, because Long GG is bringing Rattlesnake, Bargus, Scorpion, Navy issue. Or double Rattlesnake and a Scorpion Navy issue. No Bargus there. So you can't really weapon disrupt drones. Like, you could try and web them down here, but there's not really, you can weapon disrupt the missiles on them, but it's a little bit weird. I'm kind of interested to see how this plays out.
I think are those cruisers on the Scorpion Navy issue?
They are. Well, I'm pretty sure cruisers and torpedoes are very similar looking.
I know, it's awful.
But I'm guessing they're not Torp Rattlesnakes, just because they warped in at 50. Both teams did warp in at 50. They are perpendicular warps to each other, so they're actually a lot closer than you would normally think with both of them warping in at 50. They basically formed a triangle off of the center of the arena.
All right, the countdown has started now. So what would kind of be your priority if you were one of these teams? You know, what are the ships to watch here? Who are you shooting at first? Who are you trying to clear off the grid?
So I think that when you are up against Bargus setups, you have to kill the hyena, but because they brought Rattlesnakes and Navy Scorpions, they have the ability to maybe punch through one of those Bargus, because Bargus are not, they have a lot of buffer HP, but they're not actually particularly tanky. So this is basically, can the 3 Bargus destroy something with their rapid heavies before they lose a Bargus, if they go after the Bargus, which is, again, that's what I would do, but not the greatest target caller ever.
Yeah, well, let's see if they heed your advice. We have Paints immediately on the hyena of Long GG, the captain for that team as well. But the Stork is actually the one taking the DPS here, going into low shields almost immediately. Give me a question of what those Kyrans do.
Dawson's Bargus, he's taking huge damage. Oh, they're actually just dunking through a Sentinel right now. That's kind of surprising.
Yeah, this is what they're splitting damage, but it's working pretty well. I think they must have just gotten a couple of lucky shots off.
Well, and here's my question. If you have 2 Sentinels, where aren't their guidance disruptors out? But New Eden Observatory does snipe the hyena, which is very, very important if you ever want to go after smaller ships. I need to look and see if maybe it's the UI bugging, or if the Sentinels are just not using guidance disruptors right now.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what's happening here, because that Bargus does look like he's starting to tank a little bit, regaining just a little bit of EHP here. But what are these Sentinels doing? Are they full Newt Sentinels?
They've got to be. I don't know, because it is their shield Sentinels, so it's not like they can use as many mid slots, but they're not doing anything. I'm zoomed in on one right now, and I don't see any E-War coming out from it. So I think they brought them, but if they had brought maybe even one guidance disruptor on them, it'd be kind of good, because that Bargus is taking a lot of damage. You need to remember most Bargus are XL ASB fits, so it's entirely possible that the only reason why he's holding right now is because he's pumping his XL ASB.
Yeah, they're curling around a little bit around the edge of the arena though, right now, trying to figure out what they're doing here. It looks like their movements are being matched here in the center of the arena by the Scorpion Navy issue. Oh, the Sentinel of Yomi, out of nowhere, absolutely deleted.
He did just get taken down. Their New Eden Observatory is actually killing drones right now, by the way. they're going after the Praetors and trying to sort of help keep that Barghest alive. It's a little hard to tell because they're also doing a lot of damage to King Muff and the Rattlesnake, but they were the Barghest are on the Rattlesnake of Long GG. The small ships are killing the drones trying to reduce the damage out, and they're actually punching through that Rattlesnake, which is kind of surprising. They might hit reload before they can kill him, though.
Yeah, that's the question. Can they get through that Rattlesnake before they go into reload? Because if they don't, they give it a second chance.
Yeah, he is surviving. I don't know if they have all their reps on him, actually, because
Yeah, that Kieran's
is repping. Yeah.
Their Kieran seem like they're kind of far off as well. They need to be really snuggling in and getting in that 10 km range for the optimal reps here. Oh, it's going to be close, but I think they are going to kill him.
Yeah, the Kierans are now right on top of him, but...
Oh, Gemma suddenly taking a chunk of damage here as well as the Hyena. What's going on there? It looks like they just walked into tackle.
Yeah, they just blew up the Hyena, and actually, King Myth, they've got to be on reload because he's starting to gain back. They kept him alive in 12% structure, and he is slowly regaining right now.
That guy is clenching for Jesus right now.
The Golem survived by that much yesterday as well.
The Cypher down in Sentinel. Gemma now going into Hull. The tables have turned here.
Well, and that Barghest is actually webbed down and not able to move. So he's taking damage very, very quickly here. Gemma's going to drop, and one of the things is those Barghests were actually kiting out the heavy drones really, really well there. So now that they've basically rammed in and tackled that Barghest, we see the heavy drones finally catch up and apply, and he just kind of melts. The reload has been done, and so King Myth is starting to take damage again. He's in 9% shield right now, barely holding on. So, but I don't know if two Barghests are going to be able to break him with, they just lost a third of their DPS.
I think it's going to be a question of if they were able to use their to rep their heat properly during that reload.
It's entirely possible that that's going to do it. And this Barghest is actually catching now. Both of the Kierans are just doing as much as they can, or not the Barghest, the Rattlesnake. And he's gaining shield, even though he's being shot by two Barghests, which is never a good thing.
Looks like they're switching off him, though. They're trying to clear the support here. We saw Tackle go all over those Raptors earlier, and it didn't really amount to anything other than a couple of Sentinels dying for their efforts.
Yeah, and Nanshan is actually dropping really fast now, too. And now that those little Tackle wings are in there, like I said, the Barghests were actually kiting all of the heavy drones really, really well here. But as soon as they started getting tackled, now they're just dropping quite quickly to heavy drones. And, they are Tech 1 drones, so they're very slow. But once they get on the target, they're still Rattlesnake heavy drones. They do tons of damage, and that is another Barghest dropping down.
Wow. Kingslayer being King Slain here.
Yeah, and I think New Eden Observatory has realized that, maybe they should have been clearing tackle, but it is probably too late because one Barghest is going to have a lot of trouble. Somebody said, oh yeah, Barghests kill frigates. Well, they do, but not very quickly if you don't have your Hyena up still. And the other Barghest is now taking a lot of damage, and he is also tackled by Raptors. So I guess Interceptors are valid AT ships.
They're coming into their own in this tournament. We have seen quite a few teams use them. We saw the Crusader even make an appearance, which is not a scene I've seen
damage on that. They're destroying this Barghest. He's shield boosting up about 10% and then just immediately drops down. So, yeah, Cruise Rattlesnakes, guys. That's 2 games in a row now that the Cruise Rattlesnake has been the kingpin ship and won a match. So, new meta.
We'll have to see. The thing that's really interesting, though, is that we've seen so many matches go through like this where the logistics frigates are effectively left until the end. The amount of DPS that you can actually put out in this format is enough that those frigates are effectively just there to extend your tank. And if you don't have good resistances, like these Barghests don't, you're going to struggle to survive, the 6,000-7,000 DPS that 3 battleships can put out.
It's definitely true, and if they had maybe played a little bit differently with the Barghests, or honestly, I think if the Sentinels had actually had some kind of weapon disruption module, they might have won this one. But the Sentinels kind of were just flying around. I'm trying to trying to think of what New Eden Observatory could have done, and if they had fit the Sentinels slightly different and just thrown guidance disruptors on the Bargists, or not the Bargists, thrown guidance disruptors on like the Rattlesnakes, or maybe even just gotten in and tried to nuke the Kurans out, then King Myth's Rattlesnake would have died, and they might have actually held here. But instead, he gets to live in 12% structure, and they're just kind of finishing off the Bifrost now. I don't know if they're just having a little bit of trouble taking him down. I wonder if that's a afterburning Bifrost, actually, because he's not slowing down that fast.
Yeah, that's just under 1,000 hit points left on that Rattlesnake's structure by my calculations.
Yeah. So yeah, that's basically 1 or 2 more volleys of rapid heavies. But Long GG actually beats New Eden Observatory, so we were all wrong except for Jinton. Which I don't know how I
taking the
feel about
switch
that.
was a good choice. Yeah.
Well, you see, they banned the commentator's curse, so I couldn't curse them. This was just genius strategy here from Long GG's roaming team. Hello everyone and welcome back. This is the Chinese Community Time Zone round robin tournament. That was not a grammatically correct sentence, but we will move on because we are about to see Thunder Down Under, the Australian team, play against Invasion from Widows. And let's see how these guys did in their past matches. It looks like Thunder Down Under lost both of their last matches, and Invasion from Widows lost both of them last matches. So a real champions matchup here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, do we know if Thunder from Down Under is actually Australian, or are they just pretending? Are they Australian LARPers?
Pretending. I love it.
I like that idea actually. They're
False
The
Aussies.
tournament for Exit Strategy, who are an Australian time zone wormhole corp.
No, you don't understand. They're now Aussiaboos. They're actually
they're
mainland.
No.
They run around wearing cowboy hats. Or whatever the hats are
Australians wear
called.
cowboy hats? Yeah, I was like, wait a second.
The hat that they wear with the like corks dangling off it that I don't know the name of.
From henceforth shall be known as cork hats.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway, getting away from the idea of Australia being a fake country.
I think we need that as a cosmetic item in the New Eden store, to be honest. Hawaiian shirts and cork hats.
Dude, I wish. That would be so cool. I need a Hawaiian shirt on my character.
I'd love a Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, we were joking about earlier how we could, yesterday we had Dark here, and she was telling us about how what all these teams were about, and I was just like, why don't we just make stuff up? Like, people are going to flame us no matter what we say, so we might as well just, create our own narrative, right?
All right, here's the question though. If you had a Hawaiian shirt, but instead of flowers, it had to be an Eve ship silhouette, what ship would you pick?
Balgorns.
Little Dramils.
Oh, I like Dramiels. Dramiels is a good. I feel like this would tessellate well too.
Yeah, exactly.
You want something to impersonate the flowers. You want something that's kind of spread out, like the front of a Tristan or something like that, that could, pass as flowers.
Floral Tristans. There's some good silhouette
dude,
ships out there.
I want a circle of Balgorns.
Oh no.
I feel like the Caracal hull works pretty well too.
Caracal would work good, yeah.
Like at the isometric view, it looks so pretty.
Suetonia raises a point. Arrow Blossom skins. Imagine just like mixing your Hawaiian shirt with a skin line that's in the game. You can make some very pretty ships.
Can we make some like tie-ins? Like if you buy the shirt, you get the skin too. There we go.
There we
That's how
go.
we sell it to CCP.
I like this idea. Does that mean we can get IGC Hawaiian shirts as well? Hello?
I need to, all right. Somebody is arguing with me in chat about whether or not rattlesnakes do enough DPS to do that much. We need Satonia here. Satonia at Satonia.
At Sutonia.
Sutonia, produce some graphs for me, peasant.
Oh wow.
All right, I'm googling this. Hold on.
Is it,
Typing it, whatever.
It's getting serious when Python comes out.
All right, Pipe's coming out. Let's go.
I can probably convince Dopamine. I like this. We have now officially suggested the idea of a Hawaiian shirt.
We have willed the Eve themed Hawaiian shirt into existence.
Imagine competing in the Alliance tournament. Your award is an Hawaiian shirt, though.
That's kind of sick. Like when I was on the CSM, I always pitched that the person who won the Alliance tournament should be able to make their own skin for like one of the ships they won with.
What about their own shirt?
Their own shirt would be even cooler.
Rattlesnake can do 1800 DPS with torps, even though it's not practical. Is that like rage torps at point blank?
Yeah.
Shooting into a resist hole.
Hey, Rocky Road, why not both cat ears and Hawaiian shirts?
Bruce Reynolds.
All right, so I'm seeing about 1300.
Wow.
Maybe a little bit more. It's hard to tell, like in that specific situation, because they weren't being tracking disrupted at all. They can load up Fury, so you can do about 1350 to 1400 cold with a pretty standard AT fit. If you start overheating them, it gets a little bit higher.
It's a lot more than I thought.
The thing to think about for the rattles is most of their damage is actually the cruise missiles, because we're using T1 drones. So yeah, the one that I'm looking at right here, you heat up to 1436, and honestly, you're probably going to do full application on that to a Vargast. So, both of those plus the Scorpion Navy issue is, yeah, probably about 4,500. So, suck it, Twitch chat.
Wait a minute, someone is wrong on the internet.
Someone's wrong on the internet. I need a Pytha.
So let's have a look at the bans for this next game, actually.
Oh yeah, that'd be a good idea. We have the red team here, Thunder Down Under, have banned Nighthawk, Lashak, Balgorn, so they really don't want to face a control matchup. Whereas Invasion from Widows have put out the Barghast, Widow, and Loki, so they are not fans of this kind of shield control, heavy top end setup. Still, we've got the Scorpion Navy issue and the Rattlesnake open, and those seemed very effective last time. And there's no Hyena bans, no Rapier bans, no Hugin bans. There's plenty of power on the table.
Is this the first time we've seen the Widow? Oh no, because Invasion from Widows banned Widows last time, so they must really not like Widows, even though it's in their name.
Maybe they just don't like being attacked by their own ship.
Invasion from Widows, maybe that means like they're running away from Widows, or they're trying to fight their way away from them. I don't know.
Rather than invading with Widows. I wonder if that last game is going to be the only game that we end up actually seeing the Barghast in.
Maybe. It seems like a couple of the
it's been banned every other match besides the last two, which we don't have bans for yet. So, spoiler alert.
We do have both teams in local here now, though, so anyone got any predictions? Who do you think's going to come out on top on the Battle of the Losers?
I want to say Thunder from Down Under, just because I love the name, to be honest, more than anything. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to be back in Thunder Down Under for this one.
If Thunder from Down Under comes on top, doesn't that mean they actually lost because they're Australian?
I see what you've done there. Yeah, the whole reverse...
The reverse direction?
Yeah, I was going to say like reverse gravity, but no, it's not really true, is it? Yeah.
I don't know. I've never been to Australia. I really want to go to Australia, but it's very expensive And of course, nowadays travel is a little bit funky, but we are seeing stuff start to land here. Like last time, just 2 frigates show up first, which makes me sad because I'm like, all right, what's going on? What's going on?
It does tell us, these do tell us quite a lot though, because we just saw an Enyo and Purifier land, and that tells us 2 very, very different tales. One of those is we're using our support and we're basically sacrificing it to go after your top end, and one of them is we're effectively sacrificing our support to go after your support. So watch for some assault frigates peeling off and trying to kill bombers in this match.
Yeah, and they are starting to land, and they're both running armor setups, but the Warpins are telling a very interesting story here, which I think once we pop over to the other screen, I'll talk about them a little bit more. But we are seeing 2 armor setups going up against each other, and both teams, I believe, are bringing. Oh, actually, I don't see any logistics at all on the on the blue team side. So
Swapping us over?
that's fun. Also, kind of curious why there's a pilgrim on grid, like at all, as opposed to a curse when you can, the curse was not banned here. So, guess it is what it is. Maybe they just felt like having a Sino in system just in case.
Triple Fleet Typhoon though feels like a throwback to AT-15, where this was kind of the meta comp for a good while. It's a lot of support and a lot of control on that. You can see both of their bars are quite big, but the invasion from Widows is going to be more effective because the control bar effectively only counts the number of modules you activate versus the power of them.
Yeah, and normally I would say that Thunder from Down Under, so that they are bringing what appears to be a hull rush. I'm assuming that the Navy Megas and the Brutixes and stuff are hull ships. I'm not sure about the EOS, but they are going up against a triple Fleet Typhoon, and those Fleet Typhoons are, I want to say those might actually be Torp Fleet Typhoons. So they might have gotten countercomped here a little bit. Normally, I'd be worried for Invasion from Widows just because Thunder from Down Under did warp in at 0, so they're going to immediately be able to start doing damage here.
Look at those Enyos getting in there right away.
Oh yeah, it's just going to be a really nice, messy brawl right in the middle, which is always fun. Thunder is actually going after the Pilgrim right off the bat, which is a very, very good call. Pilgrims are very dangerous the longer they stay up, and it is a hull tank Navy Brutix, as would be expected from this.
But it is going down fast, 100 KEHP or nothing. Those Torps do not care about it. It's going to be a question of can they hold the rest of this fleet down whilst they pick apart what they've caught here.
And while you would normally expect Torps to have a little bit of trouble there, everything is so webbed down and not able to move that they're just doing full application here. And the Pilgrim's actually kind of living here. Looks like they're doing a little bit of damage onto that Deacon of Hoya, though.
Yeah, this is really interesting. There's been a lot of spread damage here from Thunder Down Under. You can see there both Enyos in a little bit of armor, the Pilgrim taking damage, both the Fleet Typhoons have taken a little bit. Seems like a little bit of a lack of discipline, but it's not... Ooh, that Brutix is going down though, Nullus as well.
Yeah, Nokan is actually sitting directly on top of one of the Deacons, and or it is trying to solo Purifiers right now in the back too, which is taking a little bit of DPS down here. There's a small ship fight going on in the background here that is not really part of this big blaster cluster in the middle of here, so that's kind of cool. But it looks like that Thunder was not able to take the Pilgrim down, and I think they're trying to clear some tackle off here. They're taking down Nokan's Enyo, which they do successfully do, which maybe will give them a little bit of time to run away here. Navy Mega is about to hit structure. Navy Megas have incredibly large amounts of structure, though, so he probably will live a lot longer than these Brutixes have.
Looks like the Magus of Rockian might be potentially caught out here. He's surrounded by a couple of Thunder Down Under ships in basically the middle of nowhere. He's keeping them out of the fight, though, so that's worth the sacrifice of his life. As this Megathron Navy issue hits half hull here, there's very little chance of him surviving now. There's no sustain left on this grid.
And I would like to state, I'm seeing one of my biggest pet peeves of all time here, which is that the Shimeo's Megathron Navy issue, which is the one that is getting blasted, is actually so close to the Pilgrim that the Pilgrim is almost inside his ship hull, which even though neither ship is really moving, there's pretty much no way he's actually applying just because of tracking mechanics. So it's possible that Pilgrim would have lived if they had piloted a little bit better. Oh, yeah, Satonia, there you go.
Exactly, he can feel it from a mile away. Suetonia doesn't even need to know, he can just look and feel it in the Force. Here we've got Cyzeros, though, going into half hull, probably about to meet the same fate as his opponents. Do you think maybe there should have been a better tactic here from Thunder Down Under? Maybe they should have gone for the high end and just tried to push through the reps rather than picking off the side of them?
I'm pretty sure they had enough DPS there to take down a Fleet Typhoon. We are in a post-surgical strike change state where, honestly, like 2 Navy Megas, EOS, and 2 Brutixes, the Confessors can do like 600 DPS right now. Thrashers are the best ship in the game. You know, they had enough DPS to probably punch through a Fleet Typhoon, and I think that was the actual call here. They almost had the Pilgrim. Maybe if they had piloted a little bit better and not shoved their battleships like as close as possible, and literally just kept at range 5K, stopped their ships and shot them, they might have got them. But yeah, I don't know. I think they had enough damage to break through a Fleet Typhoon. I would have liked to see them try at least.
Yeah, now it's pretty much just mop up duty with an EOS, Thrasher, Punisher left on grid, and that Punisher is not long for the world either.
Well, interestingly enough, he's actually tanking really, really well because they're shooting him with torpedoes, which, like, you would expect him to not live this long, considering he is moving at 40 ms, but,
Still, it's been interesting to see just how much of a focus these guys have on tracking disruption and missile disruption and all that. It seems like they emphasize that quite heavily in these comps. Is that just something that's the nature of the format?
Yeah, I think that, so, the Curse has been the best ship in the game for Alliance tournaments for several years. It's one of those ones where you never really see the impact of it if you're not actually in the match, but I can tell you that just getting Guidance Disrupted, Tracking Disrupted, Curse Newts by themselves, it's such a high utility ship, though interestingly enough, it actually sucks quite a lot versus drone setups. So, pro tip, anyone who wants to counter curses out there, just bring drones because you can't do anything about them. But yeah, I think the Pilgrim did a lot more there than it would initially look like, just because of the utility in the newts. Because you can cap out a ship with a Pilgrim and they can't shoot you back, which is entirely possible what happened there. I think it was the piloting, though.
I mean, hell, at the very least, you're forcing people to shoot into T2 resists, so your reps are being infinitely more effective than they would somewhere else.
"15 seconds to make a cool AT ad. It's got to have dank content. Overused MLG mans. And MLG Daniel wait. No profanity. How am I supposed to make an AT ad without saying fuck?
What is the best Indian wormhole corp? That's Biotech LD.
Ah, you're teasing me, naughty naughty.
Bold is actually not an Indian corporation. Bold is actually not a wormhole corporation. Bold is recruiting. No ego PvP.
Introducing Grath Telkin, your personal assistant from Pandemic Legion.
Hey Grath, I'm 15 jumps out. Can I still get in on the fleet?
How the f are you 15 jumps away? Why would you be 15 jumps away from where the f we are?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. And we are about to watch the other side of that group playoff against each other. Thunder and Sword are going up against Nightmare Skating Issue. And as we all learned earlier yesterday, skaters and skating is Chinese slang for drug dealers. So effectively, Thunder and Sword versus Nightmares on Crack. It's good to know some things never change.
Yeah, it's actually a really good name if you think about it. Just with so we were talking yesterday. I believe a lot of these are actually like wormholers or sort of low sec PvP groups. So I'm guessing they probably fly around a bunch and do super fun gamer nightmare stuff, which we see a lot on TQ just because of ESS meta. So just really loving the team names here. Not having to do alliance names gives us a little bit of freedom.
Yeah, there's no risk of any tiebreakers popping up, like what happened to XXX. Oh my god, I can't remember their name. That had to type in their alliance tournament name in order to get out of the feeder rounds, and they weren't able to do it quick enough. How terrible for them. Anyway, we are welcoming in a moderator, although he's muted for now. I'm sure he'll be on hand to give his thoughts later.
Yeah, there's actually... Sorry, I just double-checked looking at the schedule. The next game isn't actually due to start for a little over 10 minutes, so we're probably just going to take a short break, and then we'll come back and have a quick conversation about the match to come. Yeah, so I'll see you all in a couple of minutes.
See you guys in a bit.
I just get... Oh, I'm not hearing anything you're saying. I'm just hearing, like... Don't leave, the voices in my head are coming back. Okay, I need to quickly run to the bathroom.
Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. And we now have a few more people in the studio. Chief among them is Sin Alama, who was the captain of the 0-3 Thunder Down Under team. How do you account for yourself, good sir? And are you in fact real Australians or just cosplayers, as we suspected?
I mean, to be fair, Australia's not a real place. We're all paid actors. But to be fair, not all of us are Australian. We do indeed have some New Zealand and Vietnamese guys that were in the fight recently.
But yeah, even despite the mockery, though, you guys put up a great showing. There were some fun matches involved in there. How do you guys find the tournament? Do you have fun with it?
Yeah, a lot of fun. Like it's an absolutely different meta. For us, we have fought every group in Eve proper that we've fought over the last 2 days, and won. And to lose 3 times in a row is incredibly humbling, but not demoralizing too much.
So, out of curiosity, do you play on the, I guess, Chinese server, or do you play on TQ?
No, we play on TQ. Yeah, we're 100%. We're the big kids in the Australian time zone in wormhole space.
And you say that you've actually played against a bunch of these guys on Tranquility. What's that like? Is there any sort of weirdness to playing in that weird time zone around downtime?
Oh man, like I don't even know how much time you got, but yes is a short answer. The uniqueness on the AT is obviously that you got a fixed number of players, and so whilst I'm sure everyone blob, but like the blob is a reality you've always got to consider as an FC. So whether you're blobbing or you're getting blobbed, whereas here it wasn't a thing. Pardon me.
So you're accusing your opponents of being filthy blobbers on Tranquility.
Oh no! In the tournament, they brought like 10 people, man. Come on.
How are you going to play against that? Anyway, we do have 2 teams here lining up, and they have just entered the system now. If my mouse would leave the EVE Online screen, thank you, I would tell you who they're called. It's Thunder and Sword going up against Nightmare Skating Issue. So what experience do you have with these 2 teams? How do they actually play on a day-to-day level?
So Thunder and Sword, I believe, are a low-set group. We've fought them a couple of times. Look, honestly, they're really good, very, very kitey. We fought them in the first fight as well, and they absolutely dominated us. It was, they're good pilots. I don't know Nightmare Skating and what their actual real corp name is.
Fair enough, then we'll just have to see what they bring. Their captain is apparently SK. I don't know if that rings any bells. Sorry, not SK. Code Earth.
Code Earth. The Code Earth rings a bell, but I'm not sure why. I'm gonna quickly click on Zekiel and see what I can find.
So yesterday we had Dark to have all these little bits of information just on hand. We were privileged.
It's more fun to just make stuff up, honestly.
100%.
Always
I just roll dice inside of their wormhole.
Yeah. So this is Polaris Emergency Alliance. So they're a wormhole corp. They live in a C2 nullsec 6. Do lots of nanogang through their nullsec, and they rat with huge marauder fleets in their C6 static. It's really fun to drop on their marauder fleets.
Oh wow! I wonder if we'll see any marauders in here today then.
Maybe they're very good with the Paladin and the Varga. So unless they're banned, then you might see one.
Speaking of bans, you want to run us through them, Jim?
Absolutely. The red side here, so that's Thunder and Sword, have banned Cerberus, Balgorn, Barghest, and Nightmare Skating Issue have banned Sleipnir, Tengu, Barghest. I have to say that Tengu ban is a bit questionable. Do you guys have any thoughts about what that might be about?
Only thing I can think of is they really don't want to get shield rushed, and maybe they've tested Tengus and think that, the heavy assault missile Tengu is really powerful. We did see that in the Alliance Open a couple times. I'm not sure what if that was what their plan is. They also did have an additional ban of a Sentinel and a Loki because they did double ban Barghest. So, because of that, there's actually, I think, 5 bans. Is that how it works? Math is really hard this early.
So you get 3 bans as a team, and then anything that doubles up, you get an extra 1 for the double. So. Yeah.
Gotcha. So it ends up as 6 total anyways, I guess, or something.
Yeah, if everyone doubles up, yeah, for sure.
Interestingly enough, though, we kind of saw a little bit of ban meta here because the teams have landed, and while Nightmare Skating Issue did ban Sleipnir Tengu, which generally would signal that they don't want to be shield rushed, they actually brought a shield rush. So they're kind of doing some sneaky trickery here and being like, "Hey guys, look, we don't want to be shield rushed. We're banning the shield rush," and then they have brought a broadsword claymore setup. So, which I don't know if we're seeing that quite yet.
The broadsword
We
has
will
been
very
really
shortly.
powerful, like surprisingly powerful so far.
And meanwhile, Nightmare Skating Issue, as we talked about earlier, have brought themselves some marauders with triple
Told you.
paladin.
I told you.
Our man Sin with the knowledge.
And they did warp in at 50 with their triple paladins, which is a pretty good setup. So
that's gonna hurt, right? Like if you're chosen, that's gonna hurt.
Here's the thing, though. They are going to be firing into an absolute ton of T2 Minmatar resists there, though. Double Claymore, triple Broadsword is so much EM Thermal. EM Thermal tank.
It is,
yeah.
And, even on the shield tanks, like the armor resists are almost unbreakable, but even the shield is pretty tough to deal with. And those are ham claymores, just we have confirmed, so you would kind of expect it, but they are definitely 100% ham claymores, which is always fun. So it is a full-out rush setup.
Yeah, I think all eyes are going to have to be on that Hugin Light Heaven, though, for Thunder and Sword. He needs to make a huge play here and screen off that initial rush, or else this is going to be very, very difficult for the Paladin team. 10 seconds here to go.
We have actually seen Light Heaven's Hugin play before, and he's very, very good at it. So that is a pretty rough sign on for Thunder and Sword, but they are burning straight into them, trying to get some kills as fast as possible. And the Hugin's actually kind of burning off to the side here, which is a little weird to me, but they are trying to kind of do some strange tackling here. The Scimitar is actually webbed and painted by the Hugin, so I think he's going to die very quickly to a triple Paladin setup.
Oh yeah, the Hugin is caught out in the middle of them though now. Here you can see them all collapsing on them. The broadswords, the ripples, the Hugin is pretty much dead, already in armor. I don't even think that was a missed pilot though. Is he tanking? Is this an armor?
It is armor Hugin, yeah. I think they're just going to kill the Scimitar here, like just letting the Hugin.
Yeah, there it goes.
Straight for the Scimitar and grabbing him.
Yeah.
It's very, very smart.
Fair enough. That's a good trade, and Light Heaven is still alive.
Well, they don't have Logi though, right? So unless he can tank solo, he's in a world of hurt.
Here we go though. They've got on top of one of these paladins now. Leon 7 Oval is taking damage from all of these broadswords, all of these claymores. The Zwippel is holding the Hugin. The Zwippels are basically just holding this Hugin away from the rest of the fight, and they're effectively
are getting fucking dunked, man. Look at them.
Yeah, Jesus.
2 Zwippels down already.
Yeah, like the tracking, they're just getting wrecked.
Well, and the
there's the third one.
Yeah, that's the third one getting the world of hurt now.
This is really close though because
oh man, look at that Paladin rep! Oh come on!
An interesting thing to notice is the Paladins haven't split. What you usually see for PTSD Paladins like this is the Paladins will split off into a triangle. So when one of them gets locked down, they can always shoot each other. You've seen one of the Paladins do this, but all three of the Paladins bent in a straight line. So 2 of the Paladins got caught together, and one of them can't shoot everything that's on the other.
I mean, it's a difficult scrap now with those Vipers down, like whether or not they're going to go okay.
And when we spoke yesterday about how deadly those broadswords are, did we not discover they can do 850 to 900 DPS, that kind of bracket?
That surprised the shit out of me yesterday, yeah.
We're seeing that come into its own here as Benji, he's trying. That rep bonus is working its magic, but it's not quite enough. Every time he's dipping a little bit further into hull.
Yeah, one thing that really sucks for Nightmare Skating Issue is that every single ship that's left alive on Thunder and Sword just has really, really good EM thermal resistances, and that's all of their damage, pretty much.
Yeah, that is the gamble when you bring a laser comp.
Benji is actually burning away right now, though. They, I guess they don't have any tackle modules on any of their rush ships, and having left the Hugin alive. So weirdly enough, he's actually surviving just by kiting away from the broadswords. I think that they really need to get a scram on him, which they finally did, but I think he just gained about a minute of extra life by just turning his MWD on and double clicking in space in any direction here, which may have that might actually have saved him, since all of those broadswords are webbed down and they are using autocannons, which really suck if something starts running away from you.
And now the paladin is actually bent away from the other one, they can shoot the broadswords that are on each other.
Yeah, Benji's finally getting a few more armor maintenance drones as well. It seems like they must have forgotten them earlier in the batch, and they're now wrapping on top of him.
The
God,
claymores,
tight, right?
I think, have smart bombs on them. Like, something has smart bombs on it. I'm not sure if it was the claymore or not, but leaving that Hugin alive is potentially going to win this for them, because all of their ships are now, all of Thunder and Sword ships are now webbed down, and the Paladin is is just moving at the speed of a battleship without a prop mod on, but he's getting away from things.
For sure. I mean, the Claymore's dead, right? So it's whether or not the broadswords can out DPS the Deacons, which sure they can, but can they do it quick enough?
They're probably going to be low on heat now at this point. They really wanted to land this kill in that last little window. It's going to be tough here, especially with those Deacons still alive. They've not been putting newts on them or anything, so they've just been able to coast this whole time. They're probably just injecting constantly, keeping their cap topped up.
Yeah,
Yeah, with
I
the
think,
loss
I
of
think
that
that's game,
claymore,
maybe,
you
for
can
Thunder and
see that
Sword.
the Paladin's armor is starting to tick up. They've lost that ability to out DPS the ret.
Wow.
Yeah, we keep seeing the hit point like go on, go off. So I think the broadswords are having like really big cap issues here. Like with the combination of the Hugin like webbing them off and them not being able to like MWD to keep up to the Paladin, and having the hit point drop up from the newts from the Paladin are just really wrecking these broadswords.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize this, because it's a paladin. It's got a bunch of spare high slots. You can't fit the bastion module, so you have a
Right.
spare high slot as well. So the amount of
Yeah.
newts that are on top of this is just shutting down the entirety of this team.
Yeah, really composed as well from Nightmare's gating issue to not panic and just to keep executing their game plan. Even as Benji was in next, it was bleeding hull. Even after Leon had gone down, they just sat there and tried to spread out, put DPS down range, and hope that they would win the long game after the scimitar went down early on, and it worked out for them.
And I can assure you, when that sort of stuff's happening, the comms is intense. You know what I mean? Like, it is a whole other game.
Oh no, absolutely. You're all trying to let each other know exactly when modules are coming off cooldown.
Right.
That sort of thing. But that is the game all wrapped up there for Nightmare's gating issue. They are now at 3 wins and 0 losses, so they'll be going ahead to the quarterfinals. Whereas I think Thunder and Sword will have to play one more match to determine what happens to them. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the show. We are about to watch Rainbow Wolves go up against the Flight Deck, and we have the bands in, so we're going to talk a little bit about those and kind of give some predictions as to what we think they're going to be flying. because the Flight Deck have banned Nighthawk, Loki, and Cerberus, whereas Rainbow Wolves have banned Barghest, Hugin, Rapier. Obviously, the Hugin and Rapier are effectively requiring 2 bans to ban out 1 hull, so they really wanted that thing gone. What do you think that represents?
I mean, from me, I mean that
Yeah,
it's less the hull, it's more the web, right? Like they don't want webs on their grid.
yeah, and that's kind of like I guess that's to try and ward off kiting setups specifically, but sorry, or to allow you to fly a kiting setup, or there are
Yeah,
other
exactly.
setups that are really vulnerable to Hugins.
Yeah, it's an interesting ban, like the Hugin and the Rapier, because the Rapier traditionally is not that tanky, right? So to ban that, they really don't want those ranged, like anti-kite, right? So I mean, are they anti-kite? Maybe they're going to go for a kitey fleet setup.
It's interesting to me because yesterday, you know, we had a pretty good game. The Hugin was banned out. We had Melinda flying a Rapier. That Rapier really screened off pretty much the major parts of the threat to the kiting comp. So to see them both banned out is really interesting.
Well, Volk, this is actually your team, kind of. Like, are you flying in it, or are you part of the team, or is it just your corp?
I think commentating and flying is a little too much of a challenge. I'm not flying in the tournament.
Excellent. Well, so you are, but have you like done any of the practices with them? Because Rainbow Wolves, for people who don't know, is actually an Odin's Call group, I believe. That's your,
it's Odin's Call, yeah.
So, do you have any insight into the Barghest Hugin Rapier, or are you trying to like not tell them your secrets?
No, it's all brand new to me. The team has been sitting on comms for a little while, chatting about what it is they want to do, and you know, putting their comp together. But I've been on here. I've not been listening, so it's going to be interesting for me to find out what we're running.
Absolutely. We've seen a lot of really interesting ships in this tournament as well. It seems like the Chinese and even to a degree the AU time zone just has a meta of its own. You know, we've been seeing ships like all these interceptors, a lot of prevalence of T3Ds, and also the broadsword, which we all kind of were surprised about initially, but we've come around to it, haven't we? 900 DPS, a really survivable platform, and even if it didn't work out in the last match, they did have a lot of impact.
And that long scram, right? Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, the 37.5 kilometer scram is pretty nice in this tournament.
What are the
actually that long?
For this tournament, what's the arena size?
Standard set arena size is 125.
Yeah, Hicks point out to 37.5 kilometers with the Tech 2 warp disruption field generator.
I thought
that's
the shorter, though, right?
that's just the disruptor. Sorry, I'm bad.
It's still pretty far.
It's 21 kilometers.
It's highly unlikely anyone's going to warp off.
Yeah. But
yeah, I mean that still stops you from MJDing though. That's right. So it's still like the long point still stops you from MJDing. So it still stops people from escaping with MJU beacons or like MJDing away.
Yeah, and I can really see why they would make a specific impact in this sort of setup for tournaments in terms of points, because you see so much battleship top end that being able to turn off those MJDs and those MWDs is crucial to stopping them from being able to position properly. As we saw in that last match, if they'd been able to properly scram down the Paladins, things would have gone a little differently.
Did it seem like Thunder and Sword kind of knew what they were going to bring? Because, you know, like bringing that like full Tech 2 resist comp into Paladins with broadswords there, you know, one field generator for each Paladin seemed like they kind of knew what they were going to bring, but it seems like they still weren't able to take the win anyway.
I mean, I would have predicted against so Polaris is their real court name, that they would have brought more orders. And if you don't ban them, they're going to bring them. So I wonder if it was clever banning to force them into what they wanted.
Turns out no matter what you want, you can't have it all.
That is very true.
There's a song somewhere in there.
Those were song lyrics that I just quoted.
Who would again?
Anyway, these guys, though, they have done very well in the past match. They one win and one tie. Oh, from the from going up against the non-existent team. So these guys have both won their previous matches. They're coming into this hot. It's going to be interesting to see which side comes out on top.
Yeah, and I think from the tournament rules, both of these teams are going to go through into the next stage. So it's pride that's at stake.
Yeah, will that actually be held next week? The rest of this tournament, I'm not actually sure off the top of my head.
I believe all of the quarterfinal onwards are next week.
Brilliant. So we'll be able to watch some standard sort of Eve single, dub. I think let me look. The final stage.
Single elimination.
Single elimination.
Yep.
Ooh, even spicier.
Bloodbath.
This is like old school AT, right? Like before, like 89. This is just round robin into single elimination.
Yep, 100%.
And then a best of threes for the semis and a best of 5 for the final.
Yeah, there's going to be plenty of matches to watch next weekend, so I hope you guys are all booking the time off, getting prepared, get some snacks ready for it.
Popcorn time.
It's going to be a good laugh.
And the feeder rounds are the week after, man, so it's like non-stop Eve action.
For sure.
Yay.
Don't sound so excited, BPXD.
I have to wake up so early. I have to wake up so early for this.
So since we're waiting for these teams to warp up to the grid, you were talking earlier about the comms being a different ball game. You know, is it different? Is it a different feeling playing in tournament comms to playing in kind of a pitch battle in tranquility?
100% it is. 100%. Like, and I can't even quantify it. Like, it was really unique for me because you have sort of two leading people. So you have the heavy damage person that leads the heavy damage, and then you have someone else that's coordinating the light stuff, which is unique to a normal fight. And yeah, it is. I think we've got a lot to learn from tournament play versus Eve Online PvP.
From my,
do you happen? Oops, sorry.
Go on, BB.
I was going to ask, Sin, are you in the feeders with your setup as well? Like, do you guys happen to be playing in the AT-17?
No, so I mean, we lack a bunch of things. One is we don't have a big enough alliance to provide the numbers. But in addition to that, it's the time zone, right? Like I imagine the tournament this year is going to be a time zone that's just terrible for Australians. So when you couple that with not having enough people, right? Like we're a wormhole corp, we're not huge. We just won't be able to form a big enough group.
The interesting thing, actually, that came out of this was Aurora did mention potentially next year that we might actually make a bigger AU, like just Oceanic Timezone tournament.
Oh man, we'd be there with our we'd be there in a heartbeat. And I know there's a bunch of other groups that would be there. There's groups that can form 10 or whatever groups, just not in the EU US time zone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's really awesome to see people just popping out and organizing this sort of thing on their own backs without having to directly involve CTP until it gets to this sort of point.
100%.
Looks like people are starting to arrive in local now. What's everyone's predictions for this game?
Ooh.
So I have to say, it would be bad form for me not to be backing Odin's for this one. But the other side, the flight deck, they were really composed in their first game against Feeds. So I would not be surprised if this is a hard match for us. But obviously, I've got to back the home team.
I think I'm going to have to back the flight deck here. I want to see them put Odin down into the lower end of the bracket so that we can watch them fight their way up.
My money is on Odin's. Odin's is the only Western team left, so my money's on Odin's. Get in there, rip some stuff out, and get into the next weekend, guys.
I like Odin's did such a good job yesterday. Like I think they had probably the best piloted match with the kiting setup that they did. So I don't know. I'm going with that. I'm always pro piloting. Good piloting, good. Bad piloting, bad.
Odin's are renowned for very good pilots. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see where people are positioning themselves.
Oh my god, guys! There's a Neurus on the field.
We had one yesterday. 100% win rate on Industrial. It's just starting to land on the grid now.
Are we able to switch the stream over?
We'll do once everyone has settled.
What are the bans? Do we know?
Yeah, the bans were Nighthawk, Loki, Cerberus for the flight deck, and Barghest. Barghest, Hugin, Rapier for Odin.
Oh,
So
cool.
I didn't want to mention it earlier, but the one thing that tickled me was Rapier and Hugin being banned. I had the feeling that those bans would imply you're bringing a close range comp.
Right.
Because the Hugin and the Rapier just shuts down stuff like we're seeing here, Vindicators. Vindicators, because the Hugin and Rapier have like those extra range on the webs, the Hugin and Rapier can't. The Vindicators can't get close enough to apply those 90% Vindy webs. So I wasn't 100% sure, but I had a feeling Vindicators were gonna come, and I'm so happy they're on the grid because I love Vindicators.
Vindicators are terrifying.
I actually really like Flight Deck's team here though compared to Odin's. Sorry Odin's call, guys, but they did bring 2 Sentinels, and both teams having Balgorns means that there is a possibility. Now I'm not sure how they're going to play it because they are at cross warpins from each other, so they're starting about the battleships are about 60 km off of each other, so they do have to kind of either go at each other or at least chase each other. And with the Balgorns, it's entirely possible that these Vindicators could be webbed into oblivion, and then with the Sentinels, they can be tracking disrupted into oblivion. And now you have blasters shooting at like probably 7 to 8 km range. So we'll see what happens here.
Interesting as well. We're going to have a Bal versus Bal Newt off.
I'd be very surprised if the Bals suck each other off.
Stealing my quote. You owe me $1,000.
Okay.
Here we go, though. There's red lines straight running right across the field as the blue team here just charges in.
And we are seeing remote tracking computers. Yes, Leshaks are pulling back, and the Neros is remote tracking computering.
The Neros is going in, though. I'm all for this Neros.
The screen in Neros!
He had a scram yesterday, so it's possible he's got one today.
He's turning around. He's spooked.
The Neros is going to sit next to the Leshaks because it's got TCs, and it's also probably got cap charges for the Leshaks.
Oh, right. Yeah, maybe it does.
Looks like he's starting to take a bit of damage, though, as those Vindicators get in range.
Yeah.
And the Vindys aren't being screened by the Balgorn, so they're actually just ramming straight in, and they are tackling the Leshak of Rosemary. So, there is a possibility that they could have kept the Vindicators off, but they chose not to.
The Neros is going down hard, though.
Yeah, they know, dude. That the tracking computer Neros. It's very important. Powerful.
Please.
Oh, wait, is it hull tanked?
It looks like it is.
Hey, you can get like 50k HP out of a whole tank Neurus, so even though it's not gonna rep much, it definitely takes a while for it to die.
I really don't understand why these Vindicators aren't shooting the Leshaks. The Leshaks are one of the biggest ships, and at 55A, there we go, it's finally getting shot. At the speed that it is at, and the fact that the Leshaks have control space, and the Vindicators have control space, the Vindicators are going to vomit DPS on this Leshak.
Yeah, and Flight Deck's actually got Sentinel Newts on the Deacons of Rainbow Wolves, which is really, really scary. Because small Newts, they're gonna have so much trouble keeping their cap going. So they need to either clear that or figure something out there to stop them from having that be a problem.
We are seeing what we didn't see in a previous match with the Navy Megas of the Vindicators flying really well. They've got within range even with the TDs on them. They've webbed the Leshak down to 13 meters per second. They've just controlled space and are just trying to do as much DPS as possible.
Yeah, it's been interesting to watch this little support fight going on as the Pontifexes and some of the other smaller ships are screening these Sentinels off of the blue team Deacons, though, which is why this Vindicator is staying alive for so long. They're able to put almost full reps on him whilst keeping them untackled.
Can someone explain to me why one of the Sentinels is getting TD'd? Is it ECM maybe on the Sentinel that's forcing an arbitrator to TD him?
It might be bad piloting.
Yeah, I think it's bad piloting.
You should start to see the Leshak of Rosemary go down because all the rep drones that were on top of that Leshak have finally been smart bombed off by the Balgorn.
Oh, look at that Vindicator. It is hurting.
What we're also not talking about here so far is that the Flight Deck have brought a Griffin along with them. So in addition to all of that tracking disruption, there's ECM in play. There's Newts in play. It's a nasty control setup from the Flight Deck.
So it looks like the first blood goes to Flight Deck, right?
Oof, their attack bar just like got half by that Vindicator going down. That's really scary.
Yeah, it might be a no-gun Balgorn almost by the looks of it, or at least no heat sinks.
It's smart bombing off all of the rep drones. All the rep drones that keep going on the Leshak, it just keeps clearing them off.
Yeah, and Erd's Deacon actually has a Nero sitting on top of it, nuding it right now, which is kind of funny. He's not the Neurus and the Sentinels are keeping one of these Deacons completely captured. I'm a camera sitting on him, and he hasn't sent a single rep for the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, it looks like that's the last of the rep drones, because every single time they got smart bombed off, the rep drones would just jump back on the Leshak. But there's now only about 4 left finally, and we're now seeing ECM drones getting dropped by other ships.
I mean, I'm feeling for that other Vindicator. He is getting pumped.
Yeah, they don't quite have, like, even with the Balgorn, which is almost a full new Balgorn, he does have a smart bomb on him. They don't have the ability to shut these Leshaks down enough. So, they're going to slowly ramp up to the point where they just pop through it, and especially with that.
I mean, it is a hard slog for Rainbow Wolves now, right? Like, I mean, you've lost your major DPS ships. Like, what could you do?
Just look at their attack bar on the stream, right? Like, it's tiny. I think it's pretty much just the drones from the Balgon and the drones from the Arbitrator, and that's it.
Yeah, there goes the Balcon. Like, he's not going to get saved, right? So it's up to absolutely the rest of the ships. Can they kill some small stuff, maybe to salvage some points?
This Griffin is getting pelted, but it is just living. I love it.
Yeah, it's a really nasty call for the flight deck, and we are, I think, about to see the Nereus continue its 100% win streak.
I'm not sure how much this time the Nereus really affected it, but I think it was more those 2 Sentinels. Like, you can't let Sentinels just sit on top of your Deacons the entire time. That's a problem.
Yeah, a big problem that the Rainbow Wolves team has, though, right, is they don't really have any support that can really go after those Sentinels. Like, the best thing they can really do is just have the Arbitrators put combat drones on them. They don't have, like, Seapools or Assault Frigates or, like, a traditional, like frigate attack wing that can go out and do something to them.
Oh, look at this. Thor Janison, he's going for the boundary. He's given up. God bless. There's always a few. It seems that they know that this match is over.
He didn't even MJD. Come on, buddy. You only made it to 126. Yeah, you only made it to 126. It's not even close.
Does anybody know the record for the boundary at the moment?
It's 227 by Casper 24, I think.
All right.
The world long jumping champion.
Yeah.
Still, this means that Odin will now be sitting at the 2nd spot in Group C, which means that they will be in the quarterfinals next week. So they are still going to get to play.
Nice.
But it's not going to be high up in the tournament.
Sure, but a lot can change in a week, right? Like,
I've just heard on comms the instruction to commit Sudoku has been given.
Interesting thing to realize is both of these teams brought that control low end, whereas usually some of the teams bring like Swiftballs and some of the smaller stuff and the tackle frigates, especially on stuff like Vindicators, where you need a lot of tackle to just lock stuff down momentarily while the Vindicators do it. We see all Rainbow Wolves bring just the double Pontifex, double Arbitrator, and a Crucifier instead. Do you think that was one of the reasons they might have lost this?
Yeah, I think BBP said, right, there's no way to deal with these Sentinels, and if you can't deal with these Sentinels, then you just have like a huge problem over time, because they're just gonna nuke out these Vindicators, and the only like anti-support DPS that you have is the drones from the Arbitrators, which, is half of that of a Seapool on a good day.
Yeah, these Leshaks though, if you let them live on grid long enough, they are just going to end up winning matches. That's the thing. It doesn't matter how many Balgorns or how many disruption elements you bring. They will eventually win the day. Still, that is game over, with the flight deck winning that one 100-0 at the end of it, and advancing through at the head of their group to the next round, which means they get to skip a game. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. This is the Chinese/AU time zone tournament, community run, and we're here to give you commentary on it. This is still at the dying moments of the round robin stage. Next weekend, we will have a big single elimination tournament to decide a full winner. So I'm really looking forward to that. And this just decides the seeding for that tournament. Up next, we have New Eden Observatory, who played amazingly earlier, going up against Wended Elite Marauder. So we've got two really well-versed teams, and two teams that I think we both like. We all like the look of facing off against one another. Anyone got any predictions to make before we go into the bans?
I hope some Marauders are going to be deleted.
Isn't that just a general good statement to say at any time?
Yes.
Just remove them, especially from the field.
Be interested to see if we get any variety in the Marauder picks, because so far, we've seen a lot of Paladins on grid. We haven't really seen that many other Marauders. It was a Golem earlier on. It'd be nice to see a bit of variety, I think.
Well, I'm gonna steal Jen's thunder and say you will not be seeing any Paladins on this specific match, as Paladin has been banned. So if they're bringing Marauders, it will not be a Paladin, which means we will be getting some variety, at least in the Marauder department.
Speaking of
I haven't seen any Vargas.
I think there's a good chance that we're going to see both sides bring something very similar, though, just judging by the bans, because we have Barghest Paladin Rattlesnake banned by the red side, and Barghest Balgorn Curse banned by the blue side. And with both of their shared Barghest replacement bans, they both banned Sentinel, meaning that they were both worried about the same thing.
Yeah, they've basically taken out the entire line, with the exception of the Pilgrim, of bonus energy neutralizers, and also gotten rid of most of the super powerful tracking disruptor ships. I mean, you can use an arbitrator, but it's not anywhere near as near the same as bringing a Pilgrim or a Curse or a Sentinel, where they also have those bonus newts. So personally, I'm kind of feeling like Leshaks are going to come in, because energy newts and tracking disruptors are always very, very powerful against them. But maybe we'll see a Varga or something. That'd be really cool.
My personal guess, we're going to see Kitey Sleipnirs.
Makes you say that?
Banning the TCs are the big thing that fucks up Kitey Sleipnirs. So with Arty Sleipnirs and a bunch of Arty comps, you can do a lot of damage from quite far away and stay pretty fast. Whereas one of the things that shuts it down is TCs, because you need that minimum amount of damage to start alphaing stuff off the field, or getting and applying enough DPS so that you shut them down before you get caught. So Sentinels and Balgorns and Pilgrims shut all that down very hard.
I still find it super interesting when people actually ban frigate-sized hulls, because I always feel that the actual counter to frigate-sized hulls is to just kill them, instead of actually wasting a ban on them, because they could potentially be used for something else. What do you guys think?
But a single tracking disruptor on something like a Kitey comp can mean it so that RT cannot hit these small ships like the Sentinel.
I don't know. I think the Sentinel is really powerful. I think we saw Sentinels being the MVP of that previous game. It's pretty hard to just deal with them, especially when there are bans that stop you from bringing traditional good shield comps are generally pretty good at killing frigates, but these slower armor control teams normally aren't.
Speaking of typical bans, though, it's interesting to note that they haven't banned the Nighthawk, and this is one of only 2 matches where we haven't seen the Nighthawk banned so far. What makes that thing so feared in a tournament setting?
Oh, that thing just dumps out DPS, right? I think you can get 1.2k DPS out of it once you're heating with hams. So that's an insane amount of DPS.
It's 1.2 cold nowadays because of the close range missile. I think it's almost 1500 hot.
Yeah, not only that, it also has tons of utility, right? So it can bring it can bring 2 links. With the 2 utility highs, it could also bring 1 link and a newt or something. Although I think normally people just go 2 links on them. So you get links out of them, you get heavy DPS. They have pretty solid tanks too. They have tons of EHP. So it's just an insane brawling ship. It has good range as well with with hams, with javelins, you can still hit out to like 30k. So it's like you can't just like control them super easily, even if you do like hold them at arm's length.
The only thing they don't do is move very quickly, and when a lot of these comps are bringing Lokis with the long range reps and hams, it's not really a problem.
Yeah, the kinetic lock on them is pretty brutal too, especially if you end up finding like an armor control team with like reactive hardness. I think we've seen a few times where like Nighthawks have just run out of steam because eventually like reactives have like set in, and then the ship ends up tanking.
Yeah, speaking of Lokis and those Nighthawks, going kind of back to the Alliance Open, we saw that was basically every single match in the finals when we got to the point where people were literally just tanking those so that they would have an advantage.
We actually see the rapiers and the Hugins and all of the traditional kitey stuff that you would need to support a Nighthawk kiting team unbanned here, and I think we've seen that once or twice. So I would kind of be shocked if we don't see Nighthawks, like with it not being banned. They're really, really powerful. Now, how they're going to fly them, no idea until we actually see them on grid, but that's a totally solid point that, leaving the Nighthawk unbanned means that we're probably going to see them. They haven't banned most matches, which is why we haven't seen a huge amount of them.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the entire like Nighthawk comp is completely unbanned, right? Like no Hugin ban, no Nighthawk ban. You can also bring like all of the support ships. So
what are the traditional counters then to a Nighthawk setup? What could it be that they're baiting them into? Or aren't there any in the current meta?
You can actually beat a Nighthawk shield rush with a Amar laser rush, which is weird because you wouldn't expect that. I don't know if that's what they're going to do. It's just something we've kind of been seeing in practices and looking at a bunch of different stuff. But again, it's the weapon close range buffs to Conflag means that you get like 7,000 DPS out of a Abaddon Oracle setup, which is comparable to a Nighthawk setup. But Nighthawks are kind of weird ships in which they are very tanky on paper, but they're actually less tanky than a Sleipnir, which is kind of confusing and sounds weird, but I don't know. Lots to explain on that one. It makes sense if you've looked at them from a tournament perspective, even though from like a TQ perspective, you're like, no, that's totally wrong. That doesn't make sense. Like, well, it does in my world, maybe not in yours.
Well, Sleipnir has a more balanced resistance profile than a Nighthawk too, right? Like the lowest resist on a Sleipnir is 40% kinetic, whereas 20% on an EM for the Nighthawk.
Welcome to all of our new viewers from Urschlag, by the way. For those of you who are just joining, we're just waiting for the next round to come up here, waiting for the players to get on grid, and then we'll be showing you New Eden Observatory going up against When to Delete Marauders in the Chinese Community Tournament. Or Chinese Time Zone, I should say. We just saw Odin go into the lower bracket for the finals in next weekend, so not exclusively Chinese.
Ships just starting to arrive on grid now, so won't be much longer.
I see 6 Nighthawks so far. Spoiler alert.
That's a lot of Nighthawks.
It's a lot of Nighthawks. Obviously not all on the same team.
Is this so much the perfect mirror match? Because I see 4 Lokis as well.
I think we might actually have a mirror match, so yeah.
We've also got a Polaris frigate as well, so that's interesting.
Someone has made an appearance.
That was supposed to be. Also, they have exactly. Are they the same weapons as well? Yeah, they did pretty much the same weapons with the same ships in the same spots, with the exception of a Svipple being closer on one side.
Did one Svipple accidentally warp at the wrong range?
I think one Svipple might have accidentally warped at the wrong range.
That one guy on comms is going to be getting all the abuse now.
So there's a little bit of a difference here. So the Lokis on, I believe it is New Eden Observatory, have come in at 30 as opposed to coming in at 20, which doesn't sound like that big of a difference, but because of the way the ships work. So Lokis actually have about a 10-kilometer longer range with heavy assault missiles than Nighthawks do, and they have those bonus webs. So it's possible that that could be the difference, because the Lokis will be able to stay out of range of the Nighthawks, where, as Satonia said earlier, Nighthawks are kinetic locked, sort of, and they also have very high kinetic resists. So if New Eden Observatory wins, I'm saying it's because of the Loki warping.
And here we go.
An absolute cascade of boosts there from all those Nighthawks, blowing out everyone's retinas.
Yeah, the Svipples of Wounded Elite Marauder is actually running straight away, which is very different. It looks like that they're kind of trying to jockey for position, where New Eden Observatory Svipples are running up and above the team, which is definitely, again, a little bit different tactics here. See how things go.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they're going to try and do. Maybe they're going to try and dive into the back lines once the Nighthawks end up manning each other.
Oh, here come all these Vipples, all the red team's Vipples crashing in there on the back line. Looks like they're going to catch one of those Lokis.
Yeah, it looks like the teams were originally shooting different things. Like, one of them was shooting a Svipple and the other one was shooting a Loki. But now that they finally got in range, they're each trading Lokis and just trying to get on top of the Lokis. Whereas, as we're seeing now, the Svipples are shooting the Kirin of Choo Choo Baby as well.
Yeah, we're seeing a bit of a difference in strategy right now. Both of the Lokis that have been initially primaried are holding about even, but that Spiteful of Rith is already dropping here. So good trade if they can do that and keep their Kirins alive by killing the Spiteful support wing.
We have seen... Go on.
Haha Lin, though, in the Nighthawk is in real big trouble all of a sudden, in only about a quarter of shields left.
Yeah, it looks like the pressure against the other Kirin has caused them to drop their shield reps slightly.
An
They're splitting across the Loki and the Nighthawk, and there it goes.
A very important thing to notice is the Kirins for that Nighthawk that has just went down are on the complete other side of the field. The Kirins have fled away from these Svipples. The Svipples did very well of forcing the Kirins back away from it, and then the moment the Kirins were out of range, they went, okay, let's go all in on this Nighthawk now that the Svipples can't rep it. The Kirins can't rep it.
Yeah, you can see all of the blue team's Vipples have just cornered this one remaining Vipple, and they're all killing it, but in doing so, they're not impacting the rest of the field, and they're letting this Nighthawk of Air Ice Certain die. That's not a good trade.
Yeah, I could understand maybe one Nighthawk for 3 Spitefulls, but I mean, this Nighthawk has to stabilize, and it's not going to. It's getting down into hull and now popping very quickly.
Yeah, we've seen matches like this previously where the Svipples have been shot first, whereas another team has tried to shoot the Kirins. It is very much in the favour of the team that shoots the Svipples, and that's not if the mainline DPS of the Nighthawk is also trying to shoot the Svipples. Usually in that situation, the Nighthawks trade with each other. The team that kills the Svipples first usually wins, because then the Kirins of the other team keep alive, and the Lokis and the Svipples clean up. Where in this situation, the Nighthawks decided they were going to try and shoot the Svipples, which is not an optimal situation, because as we can see now, when to delete Marauder, now that the opposing team doesn't have any Svipples left, they are just picking Kirins and killing them. But unfortunately, they're going to have no DPS with all the Nighthawks down.
Yeah, they were able to leverage that support advantage, but it's just not going to be enough to win them the match. At least, you can just compare the EHP totals on both sides and do the maths pretty much.
That's the 3 Nighthawks.
There is a possibility, because when a Delete Marauder has their Lokis and Svipples and Kirin still up, that they may actually be able to take both Lokis down on New Eden Observatory, because the 2 Lokis and the 3 Svipples is still quite a bit of DPS, and New Eden Observatory no longer has logistics, so if they're able to take both those Lokis down, it's possible that those Nighthawks don't actually have webs and won't be able to apply to any of the smaller ships on Wounded Delete Marauder's side. So it is definitely a very different set of target calling. It might end up still working out. This is definitely not over yet, even though it kind of looks that way from the points.
They are grinding through Cucumber Errors faster than they're getting through Chess Nielsen, though.
Yeah, that is the entire difference of the logistics. The logistics with the huge amount of rep drones that are sitting on top, the logistics is just providing that little bit of extra tank, which is just allowing them to stay alive a little bit longer.
Yeah, we can see a Loki dropping now of Cucumber Ares as Chess Nielsen is now just sort of stabilizing in very low shield. I'm going to be interesting to see how much heat these Nighthawks have left. I'm presuming you're burning all of your heat if you have any left to try to break Chess at this point.
And he is breaking, but again, it's definitely slowly. Like there's little tiny bits of shield. He lived way longer than I think he had any right to, which is, that's kind of all you want at this point. And like I said, if they take that Loki down before they, if they trade Lokis at the same time, I think the 3 Swipples and 2 Kirins might actually be able to beat 3 Nighthawks just because of damage application.
An important thing to notice is if they manage to kill the Loki of Yomi, the Loki of Falkia can pull out of range of the Nighthawk and then rep all of its shields back and then go back in.
Yeah, one interesting thing too is as that last Loki died, just before we saw like the ton of their EHP went down. I think that was like links dropping off because the Nighthawk links expired at that point, right? So now I think New Eden Observatory are going to go through that next Loki a little bit faster.
Yeah, so I mean, even if Winter Delete Marauder did trade out Loki's quicker, which it doesn't look like they're doing, they still have to contend with the fact that 3 Spiples and 2 Kirins doesn't beat 3 Nighthawks. We can see like most of the attack bars and those defense bars, and they'd be down on point, so you'd have to kill another Nighthawk or so. And I mean, we can already see that Yeonmi is still surviving, and Winter Delete Marauders lost their last Loki. Their attack bar is now rather minuscule at this point.
Looks like they're trying to go for the victory blow here, using the last few minutes of this Loki's life to web down one of these Kirins and going for a play there.
We look at the Kirin though; it's not taking any damage. Like,
yeah,
they're trying, but they are going to lose this Loki. There is still so right now this Loki's only surviving because it has 15 light rep drones on it, which I think maybe the Swipples should have killed them first, but it doesn't matter anymore because they just took it out. The thing is now is if they go for any of the Nighthawks, there's going to be 5
wow.
drones. However, a Swipple is actually just getting killed without webs on it because they were not moving. So that was maybe a mistake on their part.
Being controlled space with DPS doesn't really isn't really that great if you're going to be shot.
Yeah, the power of defensive mode was not with him.
Wow, suddenly these Nighthawks are just tearing through this team. The application is appalling.
Yeah, by the looks of it, they've swapped out missiles to be a javelin and apply really well to smaller ships.
Yeah, the Swipples are actually going down a lot faster than I thought they were going to. I was thinking maybe they'd be able to sig tank a little bit better, but apparently not. And I guess the Nighthawks are just going to kill everything really, really fast.
I mean, you could see the effect of the MWD of the Loki of Falkia going down. Went to delete Marauders. Loki was still running the MWD. The Nighthawks applied even through the Logi in a way that they weren't able to apply on Yomis or Cucumbers. You know, that Sig Bloom really makes a massive difference when these Nighthawks are trying to apply to you.
Yeah, the Swipples were in the wrong mode. I believe one died in speed mode, the other died in sharpshooter mode, or 2 of them died in sharpshooter mode, so they weren't able to go into defensive mode to get the 66% Sig reduction as well as the extra resists.
Yeah, I think these Kirin should go boundary now. Try and go for the record, because 2 Kirins is not going to solo Nighthawks.
Does seem like they're going for the distance.
Yep, they are going for an MJD beacon right now, so we get to see the most exciting and fun part of any tournament, which is people trying to boundary as far as they can.
We call this the Eve long jump. Casper 24 is the current record holder at 227. Let's see if these guys can beat it.
Oh, he bounced off the MJD beacon.
Turning, no. We're being trolled. They're not actually trying for it. The Kirin is now trying to kite away.
It doesn't actually matter how many points in the round robin, right? There's no reason for them to...
It's a tiebreaker, but it doesn't matter because they can only play 3 games, so... I don't think it's that... it's just for bragging rights, I believe.
Yeah, I think in theory it could matter, but you'd have to get like a really weird situation for it to actually matter.
It's been some really great matches, though, so far today, and this has been one of them. This was really close, as mirror matches tend to be, and it all came down to the target calling decisions.
Yeah, went to the Marauder. They decided to hold their Swipples back for a little bit, then like chase after those Kirins, and New Eden Observatory used their Swipples to try and kill the other Swipples. But since the Kirins had to move away from the New Eden Marauder Swipples, they actually went too far, I think, out of rep range of the Nighthawks, and it looks like New Eden Observatory were able to capitalize on that.
I think a very important difference is who the Nighthawks shot, because the Nighthawks on Winter Elite Marauders shot the Ripples, whereas the Nighthawks on New Eden Observatory just went, yeah, we know what this is. This is a DPS race. Let's kill the DPS.
I think they were shooting a Loki initially, right? But then as soon as the Kirins moved out of range, they went on to the Nighthawks. Maybe it's because the Lokis were out of rage DPS range, because I think that their Lokis came in at range, right? They were a bit further out.
I love that these Nighthawks are actually using light shield maintenance drones on these last two Kirins. They're actually ripping the enemy team.
They want the higher damage numbers.
Well, they're going to get no damage numbers at all, as that's the match officially won for New Eden Observatory, taking it 94 points to 49. And that means that we only have one more match on the card today, ladies and gentlemen. We have Drones Never Die flying up against a Long GG's roaming team. And Drones Never Die, unfortunately, have gone 0-2 in their previous matches, whereas Long GG's have gone 2-0. So it's a battle for pride versus a battle for first seed.
15 seconds to make a cool AT ad. It's got to have dank content. Overused MLG Mans. And MLG Daniel Wait. No profanity. How am I supposed to make an AT ad without saying fuck?
What is the best Indian wormhole corp? That's Biotech LD.
Ah, you're teasing me, naughty not.
Bold is actually not an Indian corporation. Bold is actually not a wormhole corporation. Bold is recruiting. No ego PvP.
Introducing Grath Telkin, your personal assistant from Pandemic Legion.
Hey Grath, I'm 15 jumps out. Can I still get in on the fleet?
How the f are you 15 jumps away? Why would you be 15 jumps away from where the f we are?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. We are sitting here and waiting for the final match of the evening, which will be Long GG's roaming team going up against Drones Never Die. This is we're getting to know these teams now a little bit, and I have to say, Long GG's had a great showing last time. They're 2-0 in this bracket. They've been flying a lot of these sort of kitey setups and really executing well on them. I think last time they brought the Scorpion Navy double rattlesnake comp.
Yeah, that sounds right. They were the ones that they just completely destroyed some Bargists from really, really far away, which is pretty funny. So
they just turned 360 degrees and moonwalked in the other direction.
No, they didn't really move that much, but the Bargists tried to run away from them.
I believe this is the comp where the Bargists finally decided to shoot the rattlesnake and got one of the rattlesnakes into like 1,000 hull, and then hit reload.
The expert timing.
The bans that we have for this match, though, are the Barghest, Paladin, and Hugin have been banned by Drones Never Die, and the Curse, Barghest, Balgorn have been banned by Long GG's roaming team. And the ban that they both got as compensation for both banning the Barghest was spent on the Rapier. They both banned the Rapier.
We're going to see Nighthawks or another kitey comp, is my opinion.
Nighthawks are unbanned, and we just saw how powerful they are at finishing the matches off.
Yeah, so, but I didn't go to time because Kieran's troll at the end.
Oh yeah, well you've got to make sure the audience is as unentertained as humanly possible. That's the Eve way.
Oh, that was a really entertaining match, though. We'll have to see what different teams do. I imagine almost every team's probably practiced with this Nighthawk comp, right? It was the dominant comp out of New Eden Open. Even though the point changes have made it a little harder to bring, it's still just a super solid comp, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think the question is, are we going to see this Drones Never Die team go for the level 1, just bring the Nighthawks and try and do something simple? Or if given there's very little for them to play for, if they're going to bring something absolutely wild and just have some fun with it? because that's one of the greatest things I've experienced about practices so far is that sometimes you just fly dumb shit to see if it'll work, and it's fun.
I always have a saying of if it's a bad idea but it works, it ain't a bad idea.
Story of my life.
Oof.
Yeah, how are
Anyway.
these guys shaping up in the standings, Jin? Is this an important match for either of them? You said one of them 0-2. Even if they win, are they out? Are they not going to get seeded into the second weekend?
They would need to score 221 points in this match to do so. So I don't think that's going to be possible for them.
Okay, so this is just a match about pride for them. But hopefully, if the match isn't super serious, then maybe they'll bring like a super fun comp for us instead of triple Nighthawk.
We'll see. We'll see. As long as they give it their best, that's all that I'm concerned about. But Lone GG's roaming team has pretty much secured the first seed. That's it. Yeah, first seed spot for this group being 2-0, whereas the best that any other team can finish is 1-2. So we're going to be seeing those guys directly in the quarterfinals next weekend, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. So many of these teams really do seem like they have a great grasp on execution, and we don't normally see these guys in the AT because, as Sinalama was talking about earlier, these guys play in a very different time zone to the rest of us, and getting up at 6 a.m. to play EVE Online isn't everyone's cup of tea.
I mean, that's what you have to do in the AT if you're like US time zone, right? And you get like the early match.
Weak.
I can recall that happening more than a couple times where we gotten seeded into one of the very first matches with Exodus back when I was team captain of that. You got to wake up, at like 6 a.m. just to do all the prep work and everything. Make sure everyone's ready to go. You got your coffee and everything, and that's about the tournament life. Speaking of though, with some of these AU and CN time zone teams, are there any of these rosters that we're kind of really looking forward to in the upcoming AT?
Unfortunately, not by the sounds of it. These guys are all little wormhole organizations or low-sec PvP organizations, and they aren't able to get enough people in the across enough time zones to really compete in the AT. So this has been their way of participating at least a little bit.
Yeah,
I know we are the
yeah.
Oh, sorry, Odin obviously is taking part in the Alliance tournament.
But the time zone challenge is obviously not so much of a deal for us.
Yeah, and I think that there's members of Esports Petopia that is playing in this tournament, but I don't know if I think they're spread across 2 separate teams. Dark mentioned something about that yesterday, but I didn't quite exactly figure out what the whole dynamic of that was. But I think there's a couple people that are playing in this tournament that are spread on different teams in the AT17.
I think the understanding I got from what Dark was saying about esports and a few other groups is that they're separate entities that live in the same wormhole. So the battles between them all were kind of friends versus friends.
Looks like we're starting to get the people just arrive on grid now, so the game will be starting quite imminently now.
Yeah, if we can move over though, I think everyone's predictions were well founded with the triple Nighthawk mirror for both sides. I'm not sure if it's a full mirror, but yeah, it looks like it is.
Yep, it is a full mirror. Just because of the way points work, you kind of, when you're doing something like this, you're generally going to have the exact same setup unless you do some real weird off-the-wall stuff. So I think something to mention is that this specific setup does not actually work for AT17 for people that are watching, as Nighthawks, Lokis, and Kirans are all less points in this tournament than they are in the AT17 rule format. So it's something to consider.
Yeah, the war pins are a little weird though, right? I just see that sweep pool surrounded by those 5 Nighthawks and Lokis there in the middle, and I'm thinking of that that meme that.
Yeah, we all know exactly which meme.
The "uh-oh, I'm in trouble" meme? Yes, that one.
Yeah, that's definitely what the meme is.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly which meme it is.
So did that Super warp in at 0 by mistake? Because I see Kirin and Super Brothers are, behind at 50 kilometers.
They're like, no, wait, stop, don't do it. And he's like, I'm here, guys. I'm ready to game.
So speaking of the warpins, before we get started here, what do we think of coming in at 0 to the beacon on Nighthawks as opposed to 10?
I think it's brave because if you end up facing something like a Balgorn or a Vindicator that's really sticky, you're in a problem, but anywhere else it's a huge advantage. Still, here we go. Both teams just running at each other as soon as the bells start. Missiles flying all over the grid, whereas JG52 seems to be the first primary there for Drones Never Die, and he is down immediately.
And he was the one that did warp in at 0, just for everyone's awareness.
Yeah, the eponymous long GG, though, in half shields here. Seems like they're going for the headshot on the captain first. A noble and time-honored tradition in EVE Online.
You're seeing the same... You're seeing the same mistake in this match as we saw in the last match. The Kirins have burned straight away, and now that Loki is in low shields, they're too far away to get meaningful reps on it.
Kirins are just barely in range, but they've traded, 3 Sviples for 1 Loki. That seems, I'd say, pretty #worth. The Loki of Gameboat now the primary.
But if Long GG's roaming team does the correct thing, you're now going to see the 3 Swiftles going ham on the Kirins that are left. We are seeing Sartoga has been scrammed and is being shot now, but the Swiftles need webs to actually get on top of the Kirins.
Not if the Kirins don't run away, because all 3 Swiftles are actually on top of the Kirins, and Saratoga is going down very, very quickly here. So that is Drones Never Die actually tried to do that to Long GG, but all of their Swiftles got killed by Nighthawks, whereas Long GG's Swiftles are killing Drones Never Die's Kirins, because Drones Never Die's Kirins are really far away and not in range of the Nighthawks. So different in tactics, or kind of the same tactic, but the Kirin piloting is sort of, I think, what got Drones is killed.
Yeah, I think this is just the Logi team diff that we're seeing right here. It more or less in action as the Kirins for Long GGs were able to just keep their Lokis somehow surviving under like the collective pounding of all those Nighthawk and the Loki, and we're seeing the second Kirin of Dusk McTrappist now dropping.
Yeah, and there he is, volleyed straight through armor, straight through hull, and right into the dumpster where it belongs.
Yeah, even if they kill this Loki right now, like Snap kill this Loki right now, I think 3 Nighthawk, 2 Loki probably loses to 3 Nighthawk, 3 Super, double Kirin.
Yeah, the Kirins in this situation.
Oh wow, Drone Wine just get punched all the way through.
Were they polarized? Was that a polarized Nighthawk or something? I just didn't turn on his hardness.
No, he was sitting at like 20% shield for about 30 seconds there, so I was actually wondering how he was still alive.
Might have been the reload for the Nighthawks.
True.
Yeah, we're about 3 minutes in. That's about the right time you would see him start to have to reload.
Yeah, here you go. You see that Loki finally breaking there, but it's for pretty much nothing at this point. They have the web control here now. Drones Never Die, and that is something. But when you're already this deep in tackled and your Swiftles aren't alive to take use of it, there's not much you're really making out of it.
Yeah, going after the Super as well is a bit questionable, I think, although I don't think there's really much they can do at this point.
I think Drones might have actually just had one of those moments where they had an argument on comms for the last 10 seconds about what they should shoot next instead of just continuing to DPS, because they probably could have killed this people or gotten that Nighthawk down lower, but they just didn't really apply for a little bit. So, I don't know. That's my narrative. They're fighting. Rawr.
Yeah, I mean, I think no matter what target they go for, they were boned, basically, at this point, right? Like, as soon as they lost his Kirins, it was over.
Yeah, still, I think this just shows why the Nighthawk's been banned in so many previous matches.
Yeah, the rule set for this event being essentially the Alliance Open set, and we're now seeing Aurora talking in chat about how specifically this composition is then made difficult to impossible to run with rule changes going into AT17.
Yeah, so for AT17, I'm pretty sure the Kirins cost an extra 2 points, right? so it's harder to bring the bottom end, as well as the command ship being more expensive too, and Loki's also.
And the Loki's, yeah, pretty much everything in this is, I think it's 7 points, or no, it's 9 points over if you bring up this exact same setup. So you can do some weird stuff to it that may or may not work, but
yeah, you'd have to do something. You could do something like, I don't know, swap the People's Alpha Skybreakers or something, but yeah, that's about all you can really do.
Still,
this is a very practiced playthrough of this comp by Long GG's roaming team. They'll be known to more people on Tranquility as Warren Wormhole, as Dart told us yesterday. I'm not sure who Drones Never Die are in their day name, but Warren Wormhole obviously will be known to many people on Tranquility as a well-practiced group.
Yeah, War and Wormhole are actually in the feeder round, so hopefully we'll see them do pretty well.
Okay, so that's another team then. That's so I guess we have 3 teams then, or like 2 teams and then a smattering of players across. That's going to be an AT-17, which is pretty cool. So these guys are kind of, this is like a really good idea on their part then, because they're getting extra practice for the AT-17, which has bigger prizes. I'm pretty sure. I don't think they get ships for this one.
Yeah, well, they're getting practice without having to show any of their comps, so it's doubly effective. But still, that is the final ship down. The formalities are over, and Long GGs go 3-0 in their group, the only 3-0 team in the tournament so far, going on to the knockout stages next weekend. I believe those will be starting at about 1300 British time. Is that going to be 12? Yeah, it'll be about 1200 Eve time. We will be streaming those live. And then after that, the weekend after, feeders are starting. So you guys have a very busy schedule of competitive EVE Online ahead of you. Everyone excited for that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, my bad actually. Warm Up comes on actually in AT-17. I had the wrong bracket. I had AT-16 up.
"15 seconds to make a cool AT ad. It's got to have dank content. Overused MLG Mans. And MLG Daniel Wait. No profanity. How am I supposed to make an AT ad without saying fuck?
What is the best Indian wormhole corp? That's Biotech LD.
You're teasing me, naughty not.
Bold is actually not an Indian corporation. Bold is actually not a wormhole corporation. Bold is recruiting. No ego PvP.
Introducing Grath Telkin, your personal assistant from Pandemic Legion.
Hey Grath, I'm 15 jumps out. Can I still get in on the fleet?
How the f are you 15 jumps away? Why would you be 15 jumps away from where the f we are?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. We just saw the last match wrap up there, but we are now ready to progress next weekend to the knockout stage of the tournament. Who's excited for that?
I'm super excited.
I'm just excited for any kind of spaceship explosions. That is just my entire EVE existence.
I'm the same. I love these type of tournaments that you get to see a lot of interesting things and a lot of like really excellent piloting by some people.
Yeah, obviously this is a meta we've kind of seen a lot of now. We've seen some of the most powerful ships, the Barghest, the Nighthawk, that kind of side of things, and then the traditional under setups below that, the armor control, the shield rush. What are you guys expecting? Do you think they're going to bring anything crazy out of the hat for next weekend?
I'm expecting more Nighthawks and lots more Barghast bands still. Seems to be the combination of choice right now.
It was interesting to see the fear of the Barghest all the way through this tournament, and the one match we've seen where there was a Barghest comp, they lost. So maybe it's a psychological thing.
Oh, it's been banned out heavily though, right? I think we've only really seen it in like 2 matches, just because it hasn't been banned.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But is there? Does it need to be banned?
I guess that we will find out next weekend. Well, thank you all for coming. It was wonderful to have you. Does anyone have any shout-outs they want to give before we wrap things up here?
I just want to say a massive thank you for yourself, Jin, Volk, Blackbot Pirate, Brett, moderators, Sutonia, and everyone else that popped in earlier. It's been fantastic to have you all in and help out with this. It's been absolutely phenomenal. And I'm just hoping for more next weekend.
All right, well, with that, everyone, fly smart, and we'll see you next weekend for more spaceship explosions.